Hello everyone, in this video I will revise the Gpat 2025 question paper. So the dates of Gpat 2026 are announced. So the exam date will be on March 7th. So only 61 days are left for the exam. So that we have very less time, but enough time we have. So now moving on to the Gpat 2025 question paper analysis. So from the statistics part, the given questions from schedules. So every year we'll have some questions regarding the schedules from jurisprudence part. So we can expect two questions from every year from this part. So along with that, we can have questions from ICH guidelines and ISO, the Q series of ICH guidelines and climatic zones, and the stability temperature conditions like accelerated stability conditions, long term. So we prepared the questions like this. So from tablets and excipients, so we can expect a guarantee questions from a tablet and from capsules. So in 2025, there are very few questions from tablets and excipients and capsules. So we can expect a good number of questions in the upcoming year, that is 2026. Again, the questions from definitions of D value, Z value, half life, shelf life. These are the questions asked in GPAT 2025. And from tables like solubility, angle of repose, Kar's compressibility index. So these are all a part of reformulations. And questions are asked from preservatives in parenterals with concentrations like benzoyl chloride concentrations and everything. And questions from suspensions, rheology, micromathematics. So these three are very important topics from physical pharmacy. So every year we can expect questions from these topics. So be prepared for this with these topics. And questions from equations in physical pharmacy such as BT equations, Boltzmann equations, Nernst equations, etc. So mostly they'll ask the match the following with the equation and the formula and everything. So be prepared with this also. And different dryers and filtration things, distillation, everything. And questions from basis classification. So this is also a common question we can expect from for GPAT 2026 also, basis classification. And questions from isotonicity, their methods and problems. So these are the questions asked in GPAT 2025. Now moving on to the chemistry part. So in 2025 paper, they asked most of the questions from chemistry part, which includes the SL1, SL2 reactions with Waldron inversions and everything. And questions from Markov rules, Diels-Alder reaction. This is very important, very common questions from chemistry part. And this time they focused on some named reactions and the number of carbons in steroid moiety such as drugs. And they asked particularly this steroid moiety, number of carbons in steroid moiety such as estrogen, progesterone, everything, testosterone, everything. So they'll ask about number of carbons in the structure and the number of stereoisomers, possible stereoisomers, and number of chiral carbons also. Very easy but important. And we got questions from biochemistry such as enzymes and their deficiencies, some cycles of TCA, Krebs cycle, glycolysis, etc. So be prepared with these topics and be prepared with all named reactions, because we can expect 2 to 3 questions every time in every paper from this named reactions. So and questions from titrations such as complexometry titrations, potentiometry titrations. Particularly they ask a question from the masking agents used in this complexometry titrations. So be prepared with all these things. So moving on to the cognicy part. So in 2025 paper, they asked mostly about the drugs and their families, and and questions from alkaloids, glycosides, and pathways such as cyclic acid, malonate pathway, etc. And questions from tannins and some traditional methods such as Ayurveda, Siddha, Urani, etc. So from cognicy part, we should focus on the classifications, chemical tests, and some of the common names of drug and the families of the drugs, etc. So we should focus on all those things. And moving on to the pharmacology, very important. So from pathophysiology, we can expect questions from disease and the deficiencies and their respect to cause to agent, cause to organism, and the identification test. So this is very important. And from human anatomy physiology, we can expect questions from blood and bones. So there are some possibility questions asked from blood and bones, and some basic questions of like a transport mechanism such as active, passive, and Bohr endocytes examples with examples also. and types of anemia. So these are the questions asked in 2025. And be prepared with all drug classifications mentioned in the KD3 party book. Very important with their mechanism of actions. Very, very important, because every time we can expect 3 to 5 questions compulsory from this particular part of classifications. The questions are direct. So again, some questions we can expect from prodrugs, and the very important, that is drug and the side effects, mainly from anti-cancer drugs. So such as, let's say for example, doxorubicin is an anti-cancer drug which have a side effect of this cardiotoxicity. So such drugs are important to remember, and questions from clinical trials, very important, and the basic questions from pharmacology such as enzyme inducers, enzyme inhibitors, and drug kinetics, etc. So the EDME studies, all those are very important. And from past 2 years, they are frequently asking questions from biostatistics. So no need to study much about biostatistics, but basics are enough to get scored. So these are the these are the questions asked in 2025. So we can expect some questions from we can expect some topics for 2026 Gpat. So in the next video, I'll discuss about the expected topics for Gpat 2026. So stay in touch.